Meet Jeanette McCurdy. She's an author, a writer, and a big feeler. So much so that she's making a podcast all about her feelings. Jeanette's memoir, I'm Glad My Mom Died, welcomed the world into the story of Jeanette and all of the intense life experiences that molded her into the person she is today. But how does she manage all of the messy, hard feelings she's feeling right now? In each episode of Hard Feelings, her new podcast with Lemonada Media, she'll tell you all about it. Jealousy, shame, social anxiety, she wants to laugh about it, cry about it, and work through it with you by her side. Why? These hard feelings are a big part of the human condition. They unite us all, but only once we're willing to face them. Hard Feelings is out now, wherever you get your podcasts.
Hey boo hey, it's me, X Mayo. I'm a comedian, writer, producer, and taco expert. Also, when it comes to confidently managing my finances, your girl is a beginner, for sure. So I want you to join me on The Dough, Lemonada Media's new 10-episode podcast series, as I dive into better understanding the financial trapdoors that any of us could fall into. And I've fallen, I keep on falling like Alicia Keys, okay? But if you've ever stayed in a bad relationship to avoid moving out costs or just found yourself swimming in debt, you are not alone. Each week, I'll be exploring all types of financial flops and money myths that stand in the way of our financial freedom. On this show, Cash is queen. We hardly know her, but baby, we are determined to be her best friend. The Dough is out now, wherever you get your podcasts.
Lemonada.
Okay, actually, can you just pretend that you're listening to a fully complete theme song here? I got really in my head, and I tried to make it perfect, and I couldn't. So this is going to be the theme song right here. Hello and welcome to another episode of Funny 'Cause It's True. I'm Elyse Myers. I am so excited to welcome the incredibly talented Andrew Rannells to our show. He is an amazing actor and performer who has starred in many Broadway hits, including Hedwig in The Angry Inch, as well as originating the role of Elder Kevin Price in the Book of Mormon. He's given genius performances on shows like Girls, The Boys in the Band, and Big Mouth. In this episode, he talks about the project he's most proud of in his newly released book, Uncle of the Year. Andrew also shares with us the hilarious and heart-wrenching tale of the worst date he's ever been on, which ended up being featured in the New York Times. For two highly animated people who can cry on command, we had a very stable and delightful conversation. So 2 things that are funny because they're true. Number 1, fun fact, Andrew Rannells is from Omaha, so we're instantly best friends, of course. And number 2, as you'll hear in my aggressive verbal encouragement, Andrew's take on stage versus screen acting was very informative for me. All right, let's get into it. Andrew, oh my gosh, I have been waiting to talk to you. And when I saw your name on my calendar, I got so freaking excited.
I'm so excited to talk. I was just in Omaha for 4th of July.
Okay, so yeah, you're from Omaha, right?
I'm from Omaha. So I've been spending a lot of time there recently. But I was just there again last week. So I have lots of Omaha questions for you as well. We have a lot to catch up on.
So much to discuss. Yeah. I was going to say, what do you do when you come back? Is there any place you love to go when you come back to Omaha?
I mean, it's mostly centered around eating. I don't know about your family, but that's basically, where everything is planned. So it's there's a Runza trip. There's, of course. I have a place in the Old Market, so there's usually a Spaghetti Works trip. Mm-hmm. Johnny's Cafe, which is a very old steakhouse I go to. We go to, my family's in South Omaha, so we go to a lot of restaurants in that area, basically, older.
By the way, that laugh is Andrew seeing the hunger all over my face. My heart. Everyone listening to this is going to be like, this is not relevant to me. And I'm I don't even care. This is my favorite. I'm give me all the recommendations. Oh my gosh. I can't believe you were just here.
Oh my God. Where did you go to high school in Omaha?
So I'm not from Omaha. I'm from California, and I moved to Omaha for my husband. Yeah, so we just traded places. You moved You moved to LA, right? You live in...
I'm in LA right now, yeah.
Did you experience any culture shock when you moved away from Omaha?
There was. I first moved when I was 19 19, I moved to New York. So I moved to New York to go to college. So I think I was a little too, I don't want to say dumb, but I was too excited about living in New York that I didn't really let, it didn't really affect me too much. Like I got there. You just
decided, I'm here.
I was super excited. I was in school. I just, was like hit the ground running in New York. And then I was in New York I only moved out to LA in 2012. So I was in New York for a good long time. I moved there in 97. So I really considered that to be New York to be home. And I still do, I guess. But out here in LA, just making my way.
Cue music.
Yeah, exactly.
How long did it take you to get on Broadway once you moved there?
A while. I mean, if I had been told at 19, that it would take 7 years. Wow. I think I would have been a little discouraged. I was like newly-ish 26 when I got my first Broadway show, which was Hairspray.
What did that feel like to book that? Was it just like, this is everything I've ever wanted?
Yeah. I mean, plain and simple. I was like, this is all I ever dreamed, was that I would get to be in the show. Now, it came with, a lot had happened sort of leading up to that. My dad died. As soon as I got that Broadway show, my boyfriend that I had for a few years broke up with me. Like right when it happened, he was like, I can't do this. You're going to go off and do, you're going to be on Broadway. And I can't do that. I can't.
What did he think? You were just never going to be successful? And he was like, I'm just going to write it out.
I don't know. I think there was a bit, and it happens, certainly when two people are in the same industry, that there is, especially, two men, there was a competitive nature to our relationship, I think. Even though he was older, we did very different things. It wasn't like we weren't competing for the same parts, really. But yeah, so it was sort of surrounded, like a lot of good things in life. When something good happens, then some other bad things happen, or some things to sort of balance out the excitement. But for the most part, I would say, getting that show, being on Broadway, was like all I dreamed it would be. It was very, very exciting. And then you start changing the dream a little bit. You start moving the finish line. So then I wanted to be in another Broadway show, and I wanted to be a lead. And then I wanted to open a Broadway show. And then I just sort of kept revising what my dream was. So
when you got into your role in Hairspray, was there a bit of you that felt let down that the dream had happened and you didn't know where to go from there?
I started in Hairspray as in the ensemble, and then I understudied 3 roles. Okay. So there was always kind of something to chase. There was always something to kind of focus on. So I pretty quickly started going on for those understudy parts, and then I realized, I was like, I don't want to understudy Link Larkin. I want to be Link Larkin. Yeah. I want to play that part. And then when I got to do that, when I replaced the actor I was understudying, then it became clear that I was like, okay, my real goal now, I've changed it, is I want to open a show on Broadway. Okay. And, and some of that, I don't know how you feel about it, but some of that sort of revising your wish list is good, right? It keeps you sharp, and it keeps you ambitious, and it keeps you wanting more and trying harder. But it can also drive you a little bit nuts,
Yeah. Honestly, I like that Andrew's dreams slowly grew over time, because I am a very conservative dreamer. I am like a stair stepper. I've always done things little bits at a time. So it's really comforting to hear that he is that way too. The end goal is always so far away. It's like you never get to celebrate getting to a place that you could have only dreamed of getting a few years ago.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, it's a real lesson in gratitude, I think, is what I've learned over the years. Is like, yes, it's okay to want more and to sort of hope for more, but you also have to really sort of constantly take stock, right, of like what it is you have and what it is you're grateful for and the opportunities that are right in front of you. So that was something that did take me a while to figure out, and still working on that.
When you were on Broadway, on top of Broadway, we'll never know. Except it's on Broadway. Did you always also have dreams of acting in movies, or was it just Broadway?
It was just Broadway, and it was at the time. you know, it was hard for me to get auditions for TV stuff, even though there's a lot of television that's filmed in New York City. I wasn't getting seen for things. They weren't, I kind of thought like, well, I'm in a Broadway show, so maybe I'll start, I could be on Law and Order next. But that's not how it worked.
No, I would assume that's how it works. I have no clue.
They were like, nah. It wasn't until I was in the Book of Mormon. And the Book of Mormon became sort of not only a big hit in New York, but then also people from Los Angeles knew about it and were talking about it. And Trey Parker and Matt Stone, who wrote it, who had this massive, success in films and television, like they brought a lot of attention to the show. So it wasn't really until after that I started getting opportunities on television and in films.
How are they different, Broadway versus acting on a set?
Well, it's right as I was about to leave the Book of Mormon, well, sort of around then, I was going to Los Angeles to film a pilot of a television show with Ryan Murphy, and I met Laura Linney, I'm such a huge fan of, and I've since forced a friendship with her. But
she's like my number one doppelganger. Every time someone sees me, they're like, "You look like Laura Linney." Like, not right now, obviously, I look like hot garbage, but like when I actually get dressed. When I get dressed, they're like, "Do you know who Laura Linney is?" So I looked her up and I'm like, "Oh my God, we look very much alike." That's so crazy.
You do. You really do. She's fantastic. Obviously a fantastic actor, but just also a really amazing human and very has always been very kind to me. But I asked her, I was like, "So I'm about to go do this thing." And I had been working on television. Don't get me wrong. I had done a whole season of Girls at this point, but I was still doing the Book of Mormon at night. Anyway, Laura's assessment of the difference between stage work and film work was this, and it is true. She was like, when you're in the theater and it's supposed to snow, you pretend that it's snowing. And on film, they just make it snow. And it's really true. Like, when I got to LA and all of a sudden, like, all of the faucets on the set work. I know that sounds really simple, but like there was running water and all of the light. Like, it was like, oh, all of this is real. And usually, like, on stage, it's like there's a level of disbelief that you have to, like, it's, something that you work with. You work within those parameters. And then when you're working on a lot of TV and film, it's like they just make everything happen for you. And you're like, oh, okay.
Did you find that you had to, like, pare your acting down because of that?
Very much, yeah. The first day that I worked on Girls, it was a scene just between Lena Dunham and I, and Lena was directing the episode. I had gotten the part, and I had auditioned for the part and gotten the part, and so I knew that they wanted me there. But I had never spoken dialogue in front of a camera before. So I was very, like, on that level. So I was really nervous. And I asked her after a couple takes, I was like, can I see what it looks like? Which is kind of a big no-no.
Or in my case, you can just, invite your husband to set and have him secretly record the playback. I don't know.
You don't do that. And she very graciously was like, yeah, you can see it. So we watched a couple takes of it, and I was like, oh, okay, I don't need to I'm naturally very animated, and I look like a precious moment. Like my face is kind of like large, and so I
look like a precious moment. Sorry.
So I very quickly learned. I was like, okay, dial it down. Dial it down, Rannells. Take it easy.
I love that. I really like. It's funny. I'm the opposite. I'm very an expressive person, but I feel like I am expressing and emoting more than I am. I have basically one, and it's just like that. That, or like I look angry, and anytime I have to deliver something, I just get so many directions thrown at me, and I'm like, that's exactly what I'm doing. And they're like, your face did not change at all. And I'm like, I think that that's impossible, and you're lying to me, because clearly I did two different things.
Yeah, it can be very eye-opening when you're like, you think you look, I mean, everybody, I suppose, experiences this, that like, you think you look cool, you think you look one way, and then you see the photos later, and you're like, oh, that's not at all what I was feeling. That's not it at all.
Not at all the same level, but I was doing a music video with Meghan Trainor, and it was like a Christmas, a Christmas a cappella Made You Look, and everyone got to pick their own Christmas outfits. And I was like, I'm so out of my element. I'm with actual celebrities sitting here and I feel so out of place that I'm going to pick the goofiest thing so that I can kind of hide behind that,
Okay.
And I picked this like Christmas tree onesie thing, but it had a hood. So the hood was like the top of the Christmas tree. And they just kept having to cut because it just kept coming over my eyes. And finally they were like, you need to change your outfit because you think that you look Christmassy and you just look like you're like trying to hide and this is not working out. And so I was like, okay, that was like the first realization. Like I am not translating on camera the way that I think I am. And I cannot hide behind things. I have to really either commit to like being in this or leave because this halfway does not work at all.
So what did you end up putting on then? Or did they have like another option for you to...
I think I changed out and just put like a regular Christmas sweater. Correction, I actually just took the hood off. So I was still a Christmas tree, but I was the only person that knew that. And I was very scared because I felt very exposed because it's a cappella too. So I was like singing with like it was just very scary. And I ended up working out great and it sounded amazing. And I just looked like everybody else on set, which I should have just started with that. But I felt like I needed to hide. And I didn't know if like when you were on set, if you felt any of that, like if you wanted to blend in more or if you felt very comfortable kind of right away.
It's pretty exposing. I mean, I was so lucky that first scene was with Lena, and it was just the two of us sitting at a bar talking.
Yeah.
So she and I didn't know her at all.
Wow.
But we hit it off right away when we started, and she just made me feel very much at ease. And we were improvising a lot, and we got to sort of play around with it. And Judd Apatow was also on set that day. He was the executive producer, and Jenny Connor, who's the showrunner. They all just sort of allowed me some space to kind of relax into it. And so by the end of the day, when we finished, I can't say that I felt confident about what I did, but I at least felt I wasn't nervous.
Yeah.
And so much is out of your control, like on stage, and any actor, who's performing in front of the audience, for better or for worse, you're in control of what you're putting out there. There is no editor. There is no, like, if you mess up, that's on you.
Yeah.
But in this case, like, and especially because we were improvising so much, it was I didn't know. I didn't know what they were going to pick.
That's what I never thought about that.
So I was like, well, you might as well just throw out a wide net. We'll see how it goes. And then somebody else controls your performance and pieces it all together. And so you don't get to decide what the final take is.
I would not have ever thought about that comparison between being on a stage and knowing, like, it's a pretty black and white. I nailed that, or I didn't, versus
or I did
on a cutting room floor. Yeah, or I didn't, versus like a cutting room floor of like, I can only do so much and relying on the eyes of the editors and everybody else for it to pass through.
It was a hard lesson because then, like, going back and watching episodes of or anything that I've done, to be like, I wish they would have used that other one, or I'm sure there was another take.
Sometimes when I nail a take and I want them to use that take, I will like passively aggressively say out loud, like, wow, that was a really good one. That one felt really good. I think that was for sure the one. And then I just hope that sticks in their subconscious when they're picking the takes later.
I mean, it works both ways. I mean, sometimes you look much better than you deserve to.
You're like, wow, I'm amazing.
Yeah, I'm really good in this. And then other times you're like, I wish that I had, they had picked something different.
A different take.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, I mean, so you can only, you just have to put out, your best every time. Yeah. That's kind of it.
Was that show, Girls, specifically a lot of improv, or was that just the first episode?
It was a lot of improv. Yeah, I mean, the scripts were so brilliant that there wasn't often need to do anything. But I think that there was always sort of the flexibility of saying, like, well, if it doesn't feel right coming out of your mouth, if you want to say it in a slightly different way, or rearrange some things just to make it more like your character, like, that's fine. There was always room to sort of do that. Lena and I think I got maybe a longer leash sometimes with her in scenes, just because we really like to do that together. We like to sort of, improvise and riff off of each other. And everyone in that cast was very good at doing that. So I think we all got to sort of play, and that's not every show, not every show does that.
Yeah. I was going to say, did you ever get into a scenario after that show where you were like, this is the norm, and then you tried to improv and they were like, no,
Nope.
thank you?
No, yeah, you learn pretty quickly, like on a set, that whether or not that's going to be acceptable or not.
Really?
Like,
did you get into that situation?
Especially if you're like guest starring on something, and you're like, there's just not. You're a guest. I mean, that's literally you're on someone else's set in someone else's show, so you really do have to just follow their lead.
Also, I've heard like if you can't improv plot, you have to improv character because like the plot is set, and so you can't do anything like that.
That's a perfect way to say it. Yeah, you can't. Don't be changing that.
Okay, time for a quick break. When we come back, Andrew tells me whether or not he can cry on demand. You want to know what's music to my ears? Bread bowls. And that brings me to our beloved sponsor, Panera. Whenever I'm not sure what I'm going to do for dinner, but I know I want something nourishing that I'll really enjoy, I pick up Panera on the way home. Plus, with Panera's new Crunch Time feature, Panera will send you a reminder at whatever time you want to order your favorite preset dinner with one easy swipe. It's been an absolute game changer to make sure dinner is taken care of while I'm out running around. I'm going to start with my favorite, their mac and cheese, featuring a creamy, rich blend of cheeses. But I also like to mix it up too, and Panera makes it easy. Sometimes I'll go with their Fuji apple salad with chicken. Or I'll try one of their unbeatably delicious and hearty soups, like their creamy tomato soup. It's a classic, and I have found no soup that pairs better with their warm, fresh bread bowl. And I have done plenty of research, trust me. So order Panera tonight to get a delicious dinner in one easy swipe. Available only in iOS mobile devices. Other restrictions apply.
And for more information on clean, visit panerabread.com/clean.
I would love to take a second to tell you guys about Tara, the founder of Dreamland Baby. If you're a fan of this show, then you've heard me talk about Dreamland Baby before, but essentially it's a game changer for any parent with babies. So Tara was a new mom when she founded Dreamland Baby. Essentially, she was so fed up with how few solutions there were out there to help get her baby to sleep that she went out and designed her own, the doctor-approved, award-winning Dreamland Baby weighted sleep sack. She'd go on to be featured in Forbes for it and even make a deal on Shark Tank. So far, she's helped over 500,000 parents out, keeping their baby sleeping soundly and restoring a lot of sleep to them in the process. The sleep sack evenly distributes weight from your baby's top to bottom. Kind of like how weighted blankets help adults sleep, the sleep sack's cover calm technology helps babies unlock deeper sleep too. The sleep sack can be worn 3 ways: both arms in, one arm out, or both arms out. And it's made of 100% soft and natural cotton, super easy to throw in the wash, which is always important. Go to dreamlandbabyco.com and enter my code Elyse at checkout to receive 20% off site-wide and free shipping. This offer is for new and existing customers. That's dreamlandbabyco.com and code Elyse at checkout for 20% off. Earlier, you said that you're like very emotive. Can you make yourself cry on command for shows and stuff? I'm not asking you to do that right now, but is that in you?
Yeah.
I love that. Anytime someone can, I'm like, same, but not because I'm an actor, because I'm just like, I'm a crier.
It's the same thing. I mean, if you're a person, I think that naturally, if you're a person who sort of can access that pretty quickly and you can you feel things like that. Yeah. If there's a camera in your face the nice thing about doing it on stage is you've got a ramp up to do it, right? You're doing the whole show. I did a show many years ago called Falsettos on Broadway, and it's a really beautiful musical, but it's also a really sad musical. And I never struggled getting to that point at the end of having to be really emotional because you've got 2 hours to back you up.
I never thought about that. At this point, you could just title the episode, I never thought about that, because I've said it about 7 times up until this point.
On camera sometimes, it's tricky to sort of, but if the writing is good, and it's warranted. I mean, the worst thing you can do to an actor in a script is to say they cry, he cries.
Yeah, and you're need more
damn
info.
It. It's like telling somebody be sexy, be funny. It's well, I can't just
That's the worst. Oh, that makes me want to vomit.
Be funny.
Because anytime I go anywhere and I'm technically on paper, I'm a comedian. So they're just be funny. You just take this moment and I'm like, that could mean
That's
so
not
many
how it
things. I never thought about the different. There's so many differences. This is such an enlightening conversation because I have performed on stage a little bit. I've acted a little bit, but not enough to really know the difference because both of them just felt like I blacked out because I was so nervous. And it's so fascinating to hear Like, you go through the journey of the emotion when you're on stage because it's completely in order. But then filming a show, it's chopped up and rearranged, for filming schedules. Yeah. And you have to bring yourself to that place immediately. Is that hard? Like, how do you prepare for that kind of on-camera work?
Yeah, and it's a horrible feeling when you know it's like, now is the time to do it. And maybe it's not there. So sometimes you have to manufacture, like I've certainly been in positions where I'm like, well, I can't quite get there in this second. And especially sometimes on film sets where, like, you've got a bunch of people around you, the clock is ticking, the lighting has taken a long time to set up. Like, there's a lot of other pieces around you that are is equally important as to what you're trying to do. And when they say go and it's not there, it's a horrible, horrible feeling. So, like, over the years, I've learned, like, you got to have some things in your back pocket that can get you there. Some, like, things to remember and some things to think about. And it feels a little emotionally manipulative because, like, to yourself that, like, here I am, like, thinking about something really awful that's either happened to me or something that could happen, that could happen to me that is getting me to this place. And your body doesn't know the difference.
Okay, so as it turns out, I've been preparing for this my entire life because I do this on a daily basis without anyone even asking me to.
So I would have to remind myself sometimes after falsettos that, like, you're okay. Everything's okay. Like, you just spent 45 minutes crying and being very sad, but when that curtain comes down, like, you gotta shake it off.
That's crazy.
Because your body thinks that something is wrong.
Yeah, it's so fascinating to hear your journey, and I'm curious, what are you most proud of as you talk about all this, as you think back on your career so far? Like,
I mean, I'm really proud of getting to write. I was very proud of my first book, and very proud of this book that just came out in May, called Uncle of the Year. I have always kept a journal, but I would write essays sort of for myself and sort of turn personal stories into these essays just kind of for me. And I didn't really share them with anyone. It was just always something that I did. So then when the opportunity came about to actually get to write and to get to share it and to publish, work that I had done, that was something very unexpected. And I did not see that in my future. And the fact that I've gotten to do it is like, it's really, I think it in many ways is the thing that I'm most proud of, because that's
so cool.
It was just super, super unexpected. And it's been, luckily met with a lot of support and a lot of love. And it feels, because there is no character, it is just like stories from my life and things that I'm sharing about my past and my present, and that's obviously super vulnerable.
I was going to ask, does this feel more vulnerable than acting?
Yeah, it's sort of it still is scary. Before this book came out, I was like, well, there's a lot of information, personal information in this book that I don't know how it's going to be received, and I don't know how people are going to react. And I was so pleasantly surprised with the first book, and I was hoping that would be the same case with this book, and luckily it has been. But yeah, it's putting yourself out there. It puts you in a very vulnerable position.
All right, time for one more break, and then we'll hear more about Andrew's books. I do a lot of writing for this show, and I always try to be really careful about my spelling, my grammar, and just the overall quality of my writing, but it's hard when I'm moving so quickly to check everything. That's why every single day I'm super thankful for Grammarly. They've helped me come off so much more confident in my writing, and also I just feel more confident sending emails, like all of the emails. Grammarly does more than just fix grammar and typos. With Grammarly Premium, it takes your writing to the next level. To me, Grammarly is like having my own personal writing consultant right there with me, letting me know when I'm maybe being a little indirect or less concise than I could be. It's those little checks with their software that make all the difference for me, helping me strike the perfect tone and actually getting things done. The free version of Grammarly offers instant proofreading with comprehensive spelling, grammar, and punctuation suggestions. They also offer a tone detector, but I recommend the premium version, which offers clarity-focused sentence rewrites.
You'll be amazed at what you can do with Grammarly. Go to grammarly.com/podcast to download for free today. That's GRAMMARLY.com/podcast.
Say goodbye to those old antacid brands and say hello to Wonderbelly Antacid. If you're like me and get heartburn from basically everything, you're going to love Wonderbelly. I know that for me, heartburn and indigestion can really affect how I'm feeling and even impact what I choose to eat, which is a huge bummer. I want hot sauce, you guys. I need hot sauce. Wonderbelly's chewable antacids instantly get rid of heartburn, acid indigestion, and a sour belly using the same active ingredients as many of the leading brands. Only Wonderbelly doesn't have talc, artificial dyes, artificial sweeteners, titanium dioxide, or GMOs. And they come in these super cute and colorful aluminum bottles. Wonderbelly antacids come in 4 delicious flavors: strawberry milkshake, lemon sorbet, watermelon mint, and fruity cereal. The strawberry milkshake one is my personal favorite. It's an antacid tablet that actually tastes like strawberries blended into vanilla ice cream topped with whipped cream. And it's dairy-free. And as if the flavors weren't enough, listen to Wonderbelly's tagline for this ad: "Let's kick acid." Obsessed. You can get Wonderbelly Antacid at Target or shop on Amazon with code 20ElyseM to get 20% off. That's 20 ELYSEM, all one word, for 20% off on Amazon. Do you remember what it was like the first day that your first book was live for people to kind of buy and read? Do you remember that day or what that felt like?
I had a little bit of a warm-up, and the first essay that I wrote was published in Modern Love in the New York Times.
Okay.
And it was a super personal story about the night my dad died, about how the night that he had a heart attack and he died, but he was in a coma for a few days before he died. But while that was happening in Omaha, Nebraska, I was on a pretty awful first date with a guy and ended up had sex with him, was like, I don't know if I should have done that. Like, I was like wrestling with all of these things in my head of like, I didn't really want to do that. Why did I do that? Like, it just felt like that was the thing to do. And as I'm sort of thinking about this, and this man is still in my apartment, I look at my phone and I have all of these messages being like, Dad's in a coma.
No.
So I then had to figure out, what is my next step here? How do I get to Omaha? How do I get this naked man out of my apartment? Is the next one.
Many levels. There's so many levels to this. I'm not laughing at the situation. I'm just my body is in shock.
It was funny. And bless him, that man was like, wanted to help. He was like, well, let's get you a plane ticket.
I'm coming with you.
Can I help you pack? He was doing all of the nice things, but he was doing it while fully naked.
No.
And I was like, I have to get you out of here.
Number one, let's put some clothes on you, my friend.
Yeah.
Number two.
Please put on some pants and please leave. But it was a very strange situation in that we had just done this very personal thing together, but we didn't really know each other. And then here we are sharing this huge life-changing event, and we still don't really know each other, but there was this intimacy that had just occurred that it was very strange. So I wrote that, and it was met with a lot of positive comments, and then there were it's the New York Times. It's a huge readership.
Sure.
And the comments really went off the rails to the point where they had to cut off the comments. They were
good and bad?
Yeah. Well, the good ones were good, but the bad ones were, there was a lot of people who had problems with me being gay. That was a big one. The next was how I behaved towards the man. That was, how could you be so mean to him? That was a big one. A lot of people didn't think they should have published it. They were like, you just published this because he's on television, he's on Girls, and that's the only reason you published it. It ran the gamut. So I was, by the time the book came out, a year later, I was ready. I was like, okay, this is going to be rough, and people are going to say
your confidence?
Mean things. It kind of made me more determined, I think, because I got through it, I like got through all those comments. I got through all of the sort of, negative side of it. And ultimately, the positive response really outweighed the negative response. So I was like, I'm just going to stick to that. So by the time the book came out, I had learned to not take it personally and also to not read the comments.
You're smarter than I am. I'm a glutton for pain. So I read one bad comment and I'm like, I knew it. It's confirming everything in me I feel about myself. And you're like, it's making me stronger. And I'm like, what is happening?
God. No, I can't read the comments. I can't read the comments.
Oh yeah. I shouldn't read the comments. I do, but I shouldn't. But speaking of, there's a campaign to get you on TikTok. I told everyone that I've made it like my personal mission.
Me?
Yeah. It's Gutenberg, right? That's the show.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. I saw you and Josh on a promo for it. And I think it was on his TikTok, and everyone was like trying to get you on the app. And I was like, guys, I'm talking to him next week. It's my personal mission. Everyone's like, go Elyse. So if you want to be on TikTok, there's a whole world waiting for you, just and ready.
I think, well, thank you for passing that on. I think Josh Gad will be my TikTok guide.
That's fine. That's great.
I think when we get into rehearsals, which happens very quickly, he's gonna help me, because I feel so out of touch with that, and I know that's not new technology. I know that TikTok has been around for a long time.
It's relatively new. The content which you post on that app is so different than other platforms, so it's intimidating. I totally get it.
It is, yeah, but I'm sure Josh will strong arm me into joining TikTok at some point.
I'm all right with applying some peer pressure here. I think it's working. Hearing about the essays you write in your book is so fascinating. I'm writing a book with short stories and essays, and I wanted to ask you all those questions because it's like, I share so much about my life that sometimes I feel like there is no veil. So people come up to me on the street, they talk to me, and they're talking to me about personal stories of my life, not a character I've played. It's terrifying. It's beautiful, and I love that I get to do it, but it's also very scary. And so it is very vulnerable, talking about yourself so intimately to strangers sometimes, especially like with you and your book. And Uncle of the Year is a short stories essay book as well, right?
Yes.
Did it feel, because you had that experience, like with the first one, that you're like, you knew kind of where to find that line, or you felt more comfortable sharing more? Like, what was that like doing it the second time around?
If it's not my story, I don't tell it.
Yep.
There's a lot of stories about my nieces and nephews, about my boyfriend's kids that were just not my stories to tell.
Totally.
So yeah, you do have to kind of always keep yourself in check, especially writing. When I wrote a couple essays about past relationships and even sort of involving, ex-boyfriends and things like that. I was like, well, how do you do that? And
that's the trickiest. That's the trickiest area is exes.
You want to share your version of events, but you have to make it very clear that it is your version of events.
Yep.
So I'm not speaking on behalf of, anyone that I dated.
Yeah.
This is how I recall. I mean, the most fun when you get to the legal pass of your book, Elyse, it's
I'm
wild.
terrified. I'm so scared.
It's really wild, because then they start pulling out things that you're like, oh, I didn't even think about that. Like,
interesting.
I didn't think about that one. And you've got a few lawyers going through your book and being like, this person, when was the last time you talked to this person? Where are they right now? Is it true that you worked here with them? Is that and you have to really think about if they didn't want to be named or they don't want to be involved, how do you go about that? How do you best protect yourself and protect them so that you can still tell the story and still be honest? In terms of storytelling, legally, there's a handful of things you have to change, right? It's timeline, physical description, name, obviously. Timeline is a good one to if you just change the years a little bit, or you change the months, or you change the season that something happened. That can often be. I'm not giving legal advice, by the way.
No, this is
just
legal advice. I'm
anyone.
taking it as strict. You're my lawyer. For legal reasons, I would just like to clarify that Andrew Rannells is not my lawyer.
It's just things that I had to learn along the way that I was like, okay, so if you change, a physical description, if you change the name, if we change the timeline a little bit, change maybe the city where it took place, just a handful of things that then you still get to the heart of the story, but like the details are then, if somebody really wanted to do a deep dive and try to track someone down, it would be harder. It would be much harder.
The time is really throwing me because that's where all my problems have come, is the time. That's where, that's like the biggest way people find the people I'm talking about is because I'm like,
what year
it was
that?
7th grade. like I'm an idiot. And I'm like, why does this keep happening to me? Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Thank you. Yeah, I'm just, anytime someone's like, who's your lawyer? I'm going to just be like, just call Andrew. Again, not my lawyer.
Andrew Rannells is, he doesn't have a degree, but he's watched a lot of television.
He has written books, so
he can guide you on that one.
This was my favorite. Oh my God. It was so good to meet you.
Oh my God, you too.
Hope
Next
I get to talk
time I'm
to you
in
again.
Omaha.
Yes. We should connect and go to one of your a million like spots that you eat at.
Oh, I'll drag you all over Omaha. Yeah.
Please.
And I have lots of questions for your husband as well.
Oh my gosh, great. He's ready
for
it.
Hang out. Perfect.
Okay. Well, thank you, Andrew. Have the best day, and I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Okay, that's it for this week's episode. Thank you so much for listening. Make sure you check out Andrew's newest book, Uncle of the Year. And if you like this show, give us a rating and a review. It helps other people find us. All right, we'll be back next week with more Funny 'Cause It's True. Bye. There's more Funny 'Cause It's True with Lemonada Premium. Get access to all of Lemonada's premium content, including My 5 Questions with Andrew Rannells coming out this Friday. Subscribe now on Apple Podcasts. Funny 'Cause It's True is a Lemonada Media and Powder Keg production. The show is produced by Claire Jones and Zoe Dennis. Our senior producer is Jamila Zara-Williams, and our associate producer is Oha Lopez. Rachel Neal is our senior director of new content, and our VP of weekly production is Steve Nelson. Executive producers are Stephanie Whittles-Wax, Jessica Cordova-Kramer, Paul Feig, Laura Fisher, Kesla Childers, and me, Elyse Myers. This show is mixed by Johnny Vince Evans, additional help from Noah Smith and Ivan Krayev. Our theme song music was written by me and scored by Xander Singh. Follow Funny 'Cause It's True wherever you get your podcasts, or listen ad-free on Amazon Music with your Prime membership.
Hey listeners, I'm here today to tell you about Lemonada Media's newest limited podcast series called Declined. This 10-part series takes you through the journey of 2 exceptional women from incarceration to freedom, ultimately leading to the creation of the Returning Artists Guild, an organization that uplifts the artwork of currently and formerly incarcerated artists across the country. Call Declined premieres November 27th wherever you get your podcasts.
What's up, everyone? I'm Delaney Fisher, comedian and serial entrepreneur.
And I'm Kelsey Cook, comedian and, I swear this is real, a world champion foosball player.
On our podcast, Self-Helpless, we dig into everything from heartbreak to career burnout to the wild stories from our 20s and the many anxieties we've experienced along the way.
We're often joined by guests who range from celebrities to renowned health experts.
And together, we'll unpack big topics like deciding whether or not we want kids, building your dream career, strengthening self-trust, and much, much more.
So join us every Monday for an unfiltered, entertaining, and honest conversation with friends where you don't even have to leave your house. If you're not wearing pants, we will never know.
That's right. So listen to Self-Helpless wherever you get your podcasts. Yes. 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 Yes.